I never thought I would live long enough to tell this story publicly. For 3 years, I have looked over my shoulder when I walk outside. I have lowered my voice when I speak inside my own home. I have checked windows before praying. I have deleted messages. I have hidden books. I have lived with a fear that follows me like a shadow. But tonight, I am done being silent. Because some truths are heavier than fear. Some encounters are so real, so life-changing, so undeniable, that staying quiet becomes its own kind of prison. My name is Yusuf al-Rashidi. For more than 20 years, I was a respected Islamic scholar. I had degrees in Islamic law. I studied in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Malaysia. I wrote books. I taught students. I preached to large crowds. I answered difficult religious questions on television. Families trusted me. Young men came to me for guidance. Leaders respected me. I was not confused. I was not spiritually lost. I was not searching for another religion. I was deeply committed to Islam with every part of my life. And that is why what happened to me is so shocking. Because the last person anyone expected to become a follower of Jesus was me. What I am about to tell you cost me my reputation, my career, my freedom, and nearly my family. But it also gave me peace I had never known. It gave me truth. And it gave me Jesus. Please stay with me until the end, because this testimony may change your life the way it changed mine. And if, at any point, something inside your heart begins to stir, do not ignore it. That may be the reason you found this video today. It began with a letter. A thick white envelope with an official seal arrived at my home one morning. I opened it while sitting at breakfast with my wife, Nadia. I remember how sunlight came through the kitchen window. I remember the smell of tea. I remember my hands trembling, not from fear then, but excitement. I had been invited to a private religious conference in Mecca. Only 50 scholars from across the Arab world had been selected. 50. Men who had spent their lives studying theology, law, leadership, and religion. This was considered a great honor. My wife smiled with pride. My children celebrated. My neighbors congratulated me. I thought it was one of the greatest moments of my life. I had no idea it was the beginning of the destruction of my old life, and the birth of a new one. When I arrived in Mecca, I was surrounded by names I recognized immediately. Famous scholars. Teachers whose books were studied in universities. Men who spoke before kings and ministers. Men who had spent decades defending the faith. I felt proud to stand among them. The first 2 days were normal. Lectures, discussions, meals, debates, plans on how to strengthen faith in young people, how to answer critics, how to protect tradition. Everything seemed ordinary. Then the third night came. After the evening prayer, one of the organizers stood before us and said, "Tonight, at midnight, we will gather for a special prayer session. It will be something you remember for the rest of your lives." He had no idea how true that statement was. At midnight, we gathered in a private prayer hall. 50 men. Quiet. Clean white garments. Serious faces. We stood shoulder to shoulder. The prayer began. The Imam's voice was calm and beautiful as he recited. The room felt peaceful, holy, sacred. We moved into sujud, the position where the forehead touches the ground. I had bowed like that thousands of times in my life. Nothing unusual. Nothing strange. Until that night. While my face was on the floor, something changed. I felt it before I saw anything. The atmosphere shifted. The air became charged. My heart began pounding. Every hair on my arms stood up. Then suddenly, light. My eyes were closed. My face was against the ground. Yet I could see light through my eyelids. Not harsh light. Not artificial light. Not like electricity. It was living light. Pure. Warm. Powerful. Then came a presence so overwhelming I struggle to describe it even now. Imagine living your whole life in a silent, empty room. Then suddenly someone enters who carries more authority, peace, and power than words can contain. That is what it felt like. I lifted my head. And when I looked up, I saw him. A man stood in the center of the room, dressed in white. Radiant light flowing from him, not behind him, not around him, but from him. From his face. From his hands. From his very being. I looked around in panic. Every other scholar had lifted his head too. Every one of them was staring. Some were crying. Some were trembling. Some looked terrified. One man beside me gripped my arm so tightly it hurt. We were all seeing the same thing. This was not imagination. This was not one man's vision. 50 scholars in Mecca were staring at the same figure. Then something happened that changed me forever. He never opened his mouth. No sound came from him. Yet truth began entering me like fire into dry wood. Not into my ears. Into my heart. I knew who he was. I did not want to know. I resisted it with everything inside me. But the knowing was undeniable. This was Jesus Christ. Not merely a prophet. Not only a teacher. Not just a messenger. This was someone carrying authority beyond anything I had ever encountered. Then he lifted his hands. And I saw scars. Open wounds in his palms. Ancient wounds. Holy wounds. Marks that spoke louder than language. He showed his feet. The same scars. And instantly we understood. No one explained it. No one translated it. We simply knew. He had died. He had taken upon himself what belonged to us. He had suffered willingly. He had risen again. He was alive. And he was standing in front of 50 Islamic scholars in Mecca, revealing that we had not known the fullness of who he truly was. I cannot explain the grief that hit me. Because in that moment, I realized I had sincerely taught people something incomplete. I had spoken passionately. I had believed deeply. But sincerity does not create truth. And I had been wrong. Yet what broke me most was this. He was not angry. There was no hatred in him. No condemnation. No mockery. Only love. A love so personal it felt like he knew every secret in me. Every proud moment. Every hidden fear. Every time I dismissed someone's questions because I thought I already had all the answers. He knew it all. And still. He loved me. Then the light vanished. He was gone. The room fell silent. 50 educated men sat frozen on the floor. Some sobbing. Some shaking. Some staring at the place he had stood. Finally, an elderly scholar whispered, "What did we just see?" Then chaos erupted. Some said it was a test. Some said it was deception. Some said technology. Some said mass hallucination. But none of them could explain how 50 men experienced the same presence, the same scars, the same message at the same time. I returned to my room and did not sleep. I paced the floor until dawn. I tried to pray, but words would not come. I opened books, but the pages felt empty. I kept seeing those hands, those scars, those eyes. 2 nights later, while I sat alone in my hotel room, it happened again. The room filled with light. He appeared. Jesus stood before me. This time there were no 50 scholars. No witnesses. Only me. And I was terrified. But the fear melted when he looked at me. I cannot explain that look. It was the look of a father finding a lost child. The look of someone who had waited patiently for me my entire life. Again, no words with sound. But his message entered me clearly. I did not come to destroy you. I came to save you. He showed me his scars again. Then I understood forgiveness in a way I never had before. Not forgiveness earned by enough effort. Not forgiveness uncertain until death. Not forgiveness hanging like a question mark over your future. But forgiveness already purchased. Already finished. Already paid for. Paid for by the wounds in his hands. I collapsed to the floor. And for the first time in my life, I prayed to Jesus. I told him I believed. I told him I was sorry. I told him I wanted truth no matter what it cost me. When I rose from that floor, something inside me had changed. A weight I had carried for years was gone. The fear of never being enough was gone. The fear of judgment was gone. In its place was peace. Solid, quiet, unshakable peace. A few weeks later, all 50 scholars were summoned back for an urgent meeting. The atmosphere was dark, heavy. A senior authority stood before us and declared, "What happened in that room was deception. Anyone claiming it was Jesus has left the faith and will face severe consequences." Some immediately agreed. Too quickly. Too loudly. I could see fear in their eyes. Then came the moment of decision. Who would deny what happened? Who would stand? Around 20 of us could not lie. One by one, we stood and said, "What we saw was real. We believe it was Jesus. I cannot deny the truth." I stood too. Within hours, we were arrested, taken away, interrogated, threatened, shamed, pressured. Some elderly men suffered terribly. I will not describe everything. But I saw respected scholars broken physically for refusing to deny what they had seen. Yet none of us changed our story. Because once truth enters the soul, torture cannot remove it. After more than a month, they released us under strict conditions. No public teaching. No preaching. No speaking of the event. No leadership positions. Silence, or worse consequences. I was flown back to Amman. When I entered my home and saw my wife Nadia, I collapsed in tears. I had stayed strong through prison. But love broke me. That night, after the children slept, I told her everything. From the prayer hall, to the light, to Jesus, to the prison, to my faith. She listened quietly, tears streaming down her face. Then she said words that froze me. "While you were gone, I kept having dreams. In every dream, a man dressed in white came to me. He told me not to be afraid. He said you were being protected." My heart pounded. I asked her to describe him. As she spoke, I knew. Jesus had visited my wife too. Not long after that, our young daughter became severely ill. High fever. Weakness. Doctors were concerned. We stood in the hospital room feeling helpless. Then Nadia looked at me and whispered, "Let us pray to Jesus." We joined hands beside our daughter's bed. I prayed aloud through tears. Nadia whispered, "Please heal my daughter. I believe you can." Within 1 hour, the fever broke. By morning, our daughter was sitting up asking for food. The doctors had no explanation. But we did. Jesus was not distant. He was alive. He was near. He was merciful. My family's journey was not easy. My oldest son was furious. He thought I had gone mad. He said I was destroying the family. Others were confused. Some were silent. But slowly, through prayer, dreams, conversations, and the love of Christ, every one of them came to faith. Even my oldest son. One morning he came to me shaking. "I had a dream," he said. As he described it, tears filled my eyes. We talked for hours. Then my strong, stubborn son put his face in his hands and cried as Jesus touched his heart. Today, my entire family follows Christ. Quietly, secretly, carefully. From the outside, our life looks the same. But inside our home, everything changed. We read the Bible together. We pray together. We forgive more quickly. We love more deeply. There is peace in our house now. But danger still exists. I lost my career, my income, my public identity. I cannot teach openly. I cannot speak publicly under my own name. Some of the other men who stood that day lost even more. One lost his marriage. Another was imprisoned again. Another had his home burned. Yet as far as I know, none of them returned to deny Jesus. Because you cannot unsee what you have seen. You cannot unknow what you know. So why am I telling this now? Because someone watching this video is in the same battle I was in. You are searching, questioning, afraid, tired of pretending, tired of carrying guilt, tired of feeling far from God. Listen to me carefully. Jesus is real. He is not a dead figure from history. He is alive. He still reveals himself. He still heals. He still forgives. He still enters locked rooms and frightened hearts. And if he can reveal himself to a proud religious scholar who spent decades denying his full identity, he can reach you too. Maybe you do not know what to believe. That is all right. You do not need every answer today. Just be honest. Tonight, when no one is around, whisper this prayer. Jesus, if you are real, show me. Say it sincerely. He hears sincere hearts. And if this testimony moved you, please do 3 things from your heart. Like this video, so more people who are searching can find hope. Comment below. Tell us your thoughts, your questions, or your own testimony. I read them, and others need your story too. And subscribe for more real faith stories. Because in a world full of noise, people still need truth. I was once a man who thought I knew everything. Then Jesus walked into a room and showed me I knew nothing without him. My name is Yusuf al-Rashidi. I was a respected Islamic scholar for more than 20 years. Now I am a follower of Jesus Christ. And no threat, no prison, no loss, and no fear can make me deny the one who showed me his scars and gave me peace.